15-year-old daughter called me homophobic 57 times while letting internet strangers plan her extraction from our home as we secretly read LGBTQ+ parenting books every night, so I went no contact. That was 6 months ago. She still camps outside our old house, with rainbow hair grown out, leaving apology letters under the pride flag we bought her. She's just turned 15 and told us she's gay. She's our only kid, and me and my husband have been super accepting about it. We've been staying up late reading articles about how to be good parents to a kid who just came out, but our daughter almost seems to have gotten a whole lot worse attitude-wise. Since coming out, she has made every single conversation she has about gay people, about the discrimination they face, which are real issues, and I can't deny that. My main problem is when she tells us to try harder to be allies to her. At first, my husband and I tolerated this kind of things from her, but as time went on, it has become harder and harder to keep her mouth shut. It doesn't help that if anyone doesn't agree with her on a topic, even if it's anything not at all related to her asexuality, she is quick to call homophobia. My husband and I have become victims of these things a lot, and it hurts a lot when the daughter that you love dearly and truly support claims that you are homophobic and don't love her. It all boiled over yesterday night during dinner. It is Pride Month, and my daughter has dyed her hair in order to support it. Cool. I have nothing against it. I think Pride is a good cause to support, and my husband and I support it myself. We promised my daughter we would attend the parade with her a few weeks ago. Well, last night my daughter started talking about Pride and how important it was for everyone to do as much as they can in order to show support. She then went on to say that she thinks it's disgusting how a straight person will not openly show support during Pride, and compared it to racism. We got into a conversation about it, and during it our daughter told us she would like us to dye our hair for the month of Pride. She said it can be any color, as long as the color is on the rainbow. I told my daughter that as much as we support her, my husband and I were not going to do that. We told her we don't see how us dyeing our hair was going to do anything really. She blew up, calling us homophobic, saying that we don't support her, saying we're anti-gay and so on. My husband was the one who actually had enough, and he yelled stop so loud that even I got scared for a second. Our daughter instantly got quiet, but I could see she was still angry. My husband started speaking and told her to check her privilege. She tried asking how she was privileged, and my husband replied. He stated that she is gay and is fortunate enough to live in a country where the LGBTQ community are not seen as animals. He told her that she gets to prance around calling people names if they disagree with her, and call homophobia if she doesn't like something. My husband then pulled something up on his phone. He told my daughter to look. It was a video of gay people in less progressive countries speaking about how they were treated, followed by a video of a gay person being punished. The video was horrible. Once it ended, my husband told her that this was the reality for a lot of gay people in the world, and the fact she screams homophobia at us for not dyeing our hair during Pride Month is incredibly insensitive to gay people everywhere else in the world. He told her that not dyeing our hair isn't homophobia, and if she thinks she is, then she has been brainwashed. My daughter left without saying much, and has not spoken a lot to us today either. I know we need to talk to her, but we don't know how. The next morning, I woke up early and made breakfast like nothing had happened. I set 3 plates on the table, poured orange juice into glasses, and waited. My husband came down first, rubbing his eyes and giving me a tired smile. We didn't speak about last night, but I could see the weight of it in his shoulders as he sat down. Emma's door stayed closed. I knocked twice, telling her breakfast was ready. No response. I left a plate outside her door and watched through the kitchen window as she eventually grabbed it and retreated back inside. The eggs went cold on the counter where I'd left them. My sister Linda called around noon. She must have sensed something in my voice when I answered because she immediately asked what was wrong. I found myself spilling everything while standing in the laundry room, folding the same towel over and over. Linda listened without interrupting until I finished. Sarah, you need to give her space, Linda said, but not too much space. She's 15 and hurting. I hung up and stared at Emma's closed door. The rainbow flag sticker she'd put up last week seemed to mock me. I remembered how proud she'd looked when she'd shown it to us, how we'd hugged her and told her we loved her. Now that same door felt like a wall between us. Drake came home from work early. He loosened his tie as he walked through the door, and I could see he'd been thinking about last night all day. He went straight to Emma's door and knocked. Emma, we need to talk, he said. His voice was gentle but firm. Go away, came the muffled response. I'm not going anywhere, Drake said. He sat down on the floor outside her door, his back against the wall. I'll wait. I brought him a cup of coffee and sat down beside him. We waited there for almost an hour, occasionally talking to the door, telling Emma we loved her and wanted to understand. Finally, we heard movement inside. The door cracked open, and Emma peered out with red, puffy eyes. What do you want? She asked. To talk, I said. To understand. Emma opened the door wider but didn't invite us in. She stood there in her pajamas, her newly dyed rainbow hair messy and tangled. She looked so young, so vulnerable. Nothing like the angry activist from last night. I hate you, she said, but there was no venom in it, just exhaustion. No, you don't, Drake said softly. You're angry, and that's okay. Emma's face crumpled. She turned and walked back into her room, leaving the door open. We followed her in. Her laptop was open on her bed, multiple tabs visible. I caught glimpses of forums and social media pages before she closed it. Everyone online says parents who really support their kids show it, Emma said, sitting cross-legged on her bed. They say if you're not willing to make sacrifices, you're not really an ally. I sat down beside her, careful not to crowd her. Who is everyone? Emma shrugged. People in my groups, other kids who came out. They share stories about their parents doing all these things, and She trailed off, picking at her comforter. You just what? Drake prompted gently. I wanted you to be like them, Emma whispered. I wanted to show everyone that my parents were the best allies. I felt my heart break a little. Emma, honey, our love for you isn't something we need to prove to strangers online. But they said, they don't know us, Drake interrupted. They don't know our family. They don't know how we stayed up reading every article we could find about supporting LGBTQ+ kids. They don't know how we've already changed our insurance to make sure you're covered for any care you might need. They don't know that we've been looking into therapists who specialize in LGBTQ+ youth, just in case you want someone to talk to. Emma looked up at him, surprised. You have? I nodded. We have. But we didn't announce it online or dye our hair because that's not what love looks like in our family. Emma was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Isabel's mom got a pride tattoo. Good for Isabel's mom, I said. But I'm not Isabel's mom. I'm yours. And you're disappointed in me, Emma said, her voice small. No, Drake said firmly. We're not disappointed in you. We're concerned. There's a difference. I reached out and gently touched Emma's rainbow hair. This is beautiful, by the way. The colors really suit you. Emma gave me a watery smile. You're just saying that. I'm not, I said. But Emma, we need to talk about what's really going on. This isn't just about hair dye, is it? Emma shook her head. She pulled her knees up to her chest and wrapped her arms around them. Kids at school have been weird since I came out. Some are mean, but others are just different. Like they don't know how to act around me anymore. That must be really hard, I said. And then online, everyone's talking about Pride Month and how important it is to be visible and proud, and I just felt like I wasn't doing enough. Like I wasn't gay enough. Drake moved to sit on Emma's other side. There's no such thing as not being gay enough. You are who you are. But what if I'm doing it wrong? Emma asked. What if I'm not the right kind of gay? I pulled her into a hug, and she didn't resist. There is no wrong way to be yourself, sweetheart. Emma started crying then. Really crying. Not the angry tears from last night, but deep, scared, confused tears. Drake and I held her while she sobbed, her rainbow hair bright against my shoulder. When she finally calmed down, I asked, what happened with your friends? Emma wiped her nose with her sleeve. I called Mia homophobic because she said she didn't want to go to Pride with me. She said she had family plans, but I thought she was just making excuses. Was she? Drake asked. Emma shrugged. I don't know. Maybe. But now she won't talk to me at all. Have you tried apologizing? I suggested. She won't answer my texts, Emma said miserably. We sat in silence for a moment. Then Emma asked, am I a bad person? No, Drake and I said in unison. You're a teenager figuring things out, I added. We all make mistakes when we're trying to find ourselves. Emma leaned against me. I'm sorry I called you homophobic. You're not. I know you're not. Thank you, Drake said. And I'm sorry I yelled. I shouldn't have lost my temper. The videos were really scary, Emma said quietly. I know, Drake said. Maybe I shouldn't have shown them to you. I just wanted you to understand that there are people facing real danger for being who they are. I get it, Emma said. I've been pretty privileged, haven't I? We all are in different ways, I said. The important thing is recognizing it and using it to help others, not to tear down the people who love you. Emma nodded. She seemed smaller somehow, deflated. The righteous anger that had been fueling her for weeks was gone, replaced by uncertainty. What do I do now? She asked. Well, I said, first you might want to take a shower. Then maybe we can talk about reaching out to Mia. A real apology, not a text. She hates me, Emma said. She's hurt, Drake corrected. There's a difference. Emma sighed. Everything was easier before I came out. Was it? I asked gently. Or were you just hiding who you really were? Emma thought about it. I guess I was hiding, but at least I knew how to act. You'll figure it out, Drake assured her. It takes time. The people online make it seem so easy, Emma said. Like you come out and suddenly you're this confident, proud person who knows exactly who they are. People online show their best moments, I reminded her, not the messy, complicated parts. Emma picked up her phone and scrolled through something. This girl has supportive parents who do everything with her. They have matching Pride outfits and go to every event together. I looked at the photos she was showing me. That's lovely for them. But Emma, every family shows love differently. I know, Emma said, but she didn't sound convinced. Drake took the phone from her gently. How about this? No social media for the rest of the day. Just us, as a family. Emma looked panicked. But what if what? Drake asked. The world won't end if you're offline for a few hours. Emma reluctantly agreed. We spent the afternoon together, not talking about pride or activism or anything heavy. We watched a movie, made dinner together, and slowly, I saw glimpses of our daughter again. Not the angry activist or the scared teenager, but Emma. Just Emma. That evening, Linda called again. I told her things were better, but I could hear the worry in her voice when she suggested coming over the next day. I think that might help, I admitted. Emma might open up to you in ways she won't with us. It's not about choosing sides, Linda assured me. It's about helping her navigate this. After we hung up, I found Drake standing in Emma's doorway, watching her sleep. Her rainbow hair was spread across her pillow, and she looked peaceful for the first time in weeks. We're going to be okay, right? He asked me. I slipped my hand into his. We're going to be okay. But even as I said it, I wondered what okay would look like for our family now. Emma was changing, and we were all struggling to keep up. The simple acceptance we'd offered when she first came out wasn't enough anymore. She needed more from us, but I wasn't sure what that more looked like. I thought about the Pride Parade coming up in a few weeks. We'd promised to go with her, but now I wondered if that was enough. Should we be doing more? Was our quiet support insufficient in a world that demanded visible allyship? These thoughts kept me awake that night, staring at the ceiling while Drake snored beside me. I loved my daughter fiercely, completely, but I was beginning to realize that love alone might not be enough to bridge the gap that was growing between us. The next morning would bring new challenges, I knew. Linda would come over, and we'd have to navigate another difficult conversation. Emma would have to face school again, face Mia, face the kids who were being weird around her, and Drake and I would have to figure out how to support her without losing ourselves in the process. But for now, in the quiet darkness, I held on to the memory of Emma crying in my arms, letting me comfort her like she used to when she was little. She was still my baby, even with her rainbow hair and her anger and her confusion, and somehow, we would find our way through this together. I finally drifted off to sleep, not knowing that the next few weeks would test our family in ways I never could have imagined. The Pride Parade was coming, and with it, decisions that would change everything. Linda arrived the next morning carrying her oversized therapy bag and wearing her World's Okayest Aunt t-shirt. Emma actually smiled when she saw it, the first genuine smile I'd seen in days. They disappeared into Emma's room while Drake and I pretended to be busy in the kitchen, straining to hear any raised voices. An hour later, they emerged. Emma's eyes were red-rimmed but clearer somehow. Linda pulled me aside while Emma went to shower. She's drowning in online echo chambers, Linda explained quietly. These groups she's in are telling her that any parent who doesn't perform allyship publicly is secretly homophobic. She's terrified of not being accepted by this community she's found. Drake joined us, coffee mug in hand. So what do? Linda sighed. Set boundaries. She needs to understand that love doesn't require performance. But Sarah, there's something else. She mentioned some older kids from these online groups are planning to meet up at Pride. I'm concerned about who she's talking to. My stomach dropped. Emma appeared in the doorway, hair still damp from her shower. I heard you talking about me. We're worried, I said simply. About what? That I have friends who actually understand me? Emma's defensive walls were going back up. About whether these friends have your best interests at heart, Drake said carefully. Emma rolled her eyes. You just don't want me to have a community. That's not true, Linda interjected. But Emma, some of what you've been telling me about these groups concerns me. Telling you to test your parents' love? Encouraging you to cut off friends who don't immediately understand? That's not healthy community. That's manipulation. Emma's face flushed. You don't understand. They're the only ones who get what I'm going through. The doorbell rang, interrupting our conversation. I opened it to find Mia standing there, looking uncomfortable but determined. Her mother's car idled in our driveway. Is Emma home? Mia asked quietly. I got her texts. All 57 of them. I called for Emma, who froze when she saw her former best friend. The two girls stared at each other across our entryway like it was a battlefield. You blocked me, Emma accused. You called me homophobic because I couldn't go to a movie, Mia shot back. My grandmother was in the hospital. Emma's face crumpled. I didn't know. Because you didn't ask. You just assumed I was abandoning you. Mia's voice cracked. I've been your best friend since 2nd grade, Em. How could you think I'd stop caring about you just because you're gay? The girls ended up in Emma's room, and we could hear muffled voices and occasional crying. Linda stayed for lunch, helping me make sandwiches while we processed the morning's revelations. She's isolating herself from real support while chasing validation from strangers, Linda observed. It's actually quite common in teens who come out. They're so desperate to belong somewhere that they don't always recognize toxic dynamics. Drake's phone buzzed. He frowned at the screen. Emma's school just sent an email. Apparently there was an incident yesterday. My heart sank as I read over his shoulder. Emma had gotten into a heated argument with a teacher who'd asked her to save her Pride Month presentation for the appropriate class. She'd accused him of censorship and homophobia in front of everyone. Why didn't she tell us? I whispered. Because she knew we'd side with the teacher, Drake said grimly. When Mia left an hour later, the girls had reconciled, but I could see the friendship was fragile now, built on careful words and unspoken boundaries. Emma seemed exhausted by the effort of it. That evening, Emma asked if she could show us something. She pulled up a group chat on her laptop, scrolling through messages. My blood ran cold as I read them. Your parents are showing their true colors, someone named Radical Rainbow wrote. If they really loved you, they'd be willing to do anything to show support. Classic sachet behavior, added Pride Warrior 2006. They only accept you as long as you don't inconvenience them. Emma, these people don't know us, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. They know enough, Emma said defensively. They've been through this with their own families. Drake pointed to another message. This person is telling you to document every time we fail you. That's not support, Emma. That's encouraging you to build a case against us. Emma slammed the laptop shut. You just don't understand what it's like. You're right, I said. I don't understand what it's like to be gay, but I understand what it's like to be manipulated. These people are telling you that love comes with a checklist. At least they care, Emma shouted. We care. Drake's voice rose to match hers. We've done nothing but care since the day you were born. Then prove it, Emma screamed back. Do something that shows everyone you're not ashamed of me. Is that what you think? I asked, my voice breaking. That we're ashamed? Emma's silence was answer enough. The next few days were tense. Emma went to school, came home, and locked herself in her room. She was polite but distant, like a stranger wearing our daughter's face. I caught her taking photos of our family photos, and when I asked why, she muttered something about documentation. Friday afternoon, the school called. Emma had been given detention for disrupting another class with what the principal delicately called aggressive activism. When I picked her up, she sat in the car with her arms crossed, radiating anger. They're discriminating against me, she said. They're asking you to follow the same rules as everyone else, I replied, exhausted. That's what discrimination looks like, Emma insisted. Making me be quiet about who I am. Nobody's asking you to be quiet about who you are. They're asking you to respect that math class is for math. Emma turned to stare out the window. Isabel's parents would understand. I gripped the steering wheel tighter. Then maybe you should go live with Isabel's parents. The words hung between us like a slap. Emma's eyes filled with tears, and I immediately regretted it. I didn't mean that, I said quickly. Yes, you did, Emma whispered. You're tired of me, just like everyone else. That night, I found Drake in the garage, reorganizing his tools for the 3rd time this week. It was what he did when he couldn't fix something. I'm losing her, I said. He put down his hammer and pulled me into his arms. We're not losing her. She's just lost right now. What if we can't find her again? Drake didn't answer, and his silence terrified me more than any words could have. Saturday morning brought a new crisis. Emma announced she'd been invited to a pre-Pride meetup with her online friends. The address she showed us was in a part of the city neither Drake nor I felt comfortable with her visiting alone. I'll drive you, Drake offered. No. Emma's response was immediate and panicked. They'll think I'm a baby if my dad drops me off. Then I'll drop you off a block away, he compromised. Emma looked like she wanted to argue more, but eventually agreed. I watched them leave with a knot in my stomach. They returned 2 hours later, Emma in tears and Drake looking shaken. It took an hour to get the full story out of them. The meetup had been in someone's apartment, and the group had spent the entire time sharing stories about their toxic families and encouraging each other to cut ties. When Emma had mentioned that her parents were actually trying, she'd been told she was suffering from internalized homophobia and Stockholm syndrome. They said I was betraying the community by defending you, Emma sobbed. They said I wasn't really committed to being my authentic self if I still cared what you thought. Oh, sweetheart, I pulled her close. That's not how love works. That's not how any of this works. One of them offered to let me stay with them after Pride if things got too bad at home, Emma admitted quietly. Said their apartment was a safe space for kids whose parents didn't understand. Drake and I exchanged alarmed looks over her head. Emma, you cannot go to that apartment again, Drake said firmly. You can't control me. Emma pulled away, the moment of vulnerability passing. Actually, we can, I said, finding my backbone. You're 15, and those people, whoever they are predators. Maybe not in the way you're thinking, but they're preying on vulnerable kids, filling their heads with poison. Emma stood up, shaking. You just proved everything they said about you. She stormed to her room, slamming the door. Drake and I sat in stunned silence until Linda called for her weekly check-in. When I told her what had happened, she immediately offered to come over. No, I said. I think we need to handle this ourselves. But Linda, what if we're doing everything wrong? You're not, Linda assured me. You're protecting her. That's what parents do. Sunday was quiet, too quiet. Emma emerged only for meals, picking at her food and responding in monosyllables. I tried to engage her in conversation about anything other than pride or sexuality, but every topic seemed to lead back there. Can we go shopping for Pride? She asked finally. I want to get some things to wear. I agreed eagerly, desperate for any normal mother-daughter activity. But the shopping trip turned into another battlefield. Every rainbow item I approved of wasn't authentic enough. Every suggestion I made was met with eye rolls and sighs. What about this? I held up a t-shirt with a subtle pride flag design. That's for corporate allies, Emma said dismissively. People who want to look supportive without actually doing anything. Emma, it's just a shirt. Nothing is just anything anymore, Mom. Everything is political. Everything makes a statement. I put the shirt back, exhausted. When did you become so angry? Emma's face softened for just a moment. I'm not angry. I'm scared, okay? I'm scared that if I don't do this right, no one will accept me. Not the gay community, not the straight community. I'll just be alone. You're not alone, I said, reaching for her hand. She let me take it. You have us. You have Mia. You have people who loved you before you came out and will love you no matter what. But what if that's not enough? Emma whispered. Before I could answer, her phone buzzed. She glanced at it and her face changed, closing off again. They want to know if I'm coming to Pride with them or with you. Who's they? I asked. My real friends, Emma said, pulling her hand away. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the apartment, the older kids filling my daughter's head with poison, the way she'd said real friends like we were the enemy. Drake was awake too. I could tell by his breathing. We have to do something, I whispered. Like what? Lock her in her room? Take away her phone? She'll just hate us more. Maybe that's what it takes, I said. Maybe being the bad guy is what protecting her looks like right now. Monday morning, Emma left for school without saying goodbye. I spent the day researching, making phone calls, trying to understand how we'd gotten here. I called P-Flag, spoke to other parents, even reached out to a family therapist who specialized in LGBTQ+ youth. It's more common than you'd think, the therapist told me. Kids who are newly out sometimes get caught up in toxic online spaces. They're looking for community and validation, and they don't always recognize when that community becomes harmful. When Emma came home, I was ready. We need to talk about Pride. She immediately got defensive. If you're going to tell me I can't go, no, I interrupted. We're going. All of us. Together. As a family. Emma blinked, surprised. But what about my friends? They can meet us there if they'd like. But you're going with us. Staying with us, and leaving with us. That's not fair. Neither is asking us to prove our love by dyeing our hair, Drake said from the doorway. Neither is calling us homophobic every time we disagree with you. Neither is letting strangers on the internet convince you that we're your enemy. Emma's face went red. You've been spying on my conversations. No, I said, but we've been paying attention. And what we're seeing scares us. You're scared of me being gay. We're scared of you being manipulated, Drake corrected. We're scared of you cutting off everyone who actually loves you because some strangers online told you to. Emma stood up, shaking with rage. You don't understand anything. You don't know what it's like to finally find people who get you. You're right, I said. We don't. But we know what it's like to love someone so much it hurts. We know what it's like to watch that person slip away and not know how to reach them. Maybe I don't want to be reached, Emma said coldly. Maybe I'm finally becoming who I'm supposed to be. By pushing away everyone who loved you before you came out? Drake asked. That's not becoming yourself, Emma. That's letting other people tell you who to be. Emma grabbed her backpack and headed for her room. I have homework. Tuesday brought another call from school. Emma had started a petition to make the dress code more inclusive and was pressuring students to sign it during lunch. When they'd asked her to stop, she'd accused the administration of systemic oppression. We support her identity, the vice principal told me carefully, but she's creating a hostile environment for other students. I apologized, promised to talk to her, and hung up feeling like a failure. How had my sweet, thoughtful daughter become this angry activist who saw enemies everywhere? That evening, Mia's mother called. I'm sorry to bother you, Sarah, but Mia's really upset. Emma's been pressuring her to come out as an ally at school, to wear pride pins and put pronouns in her bio. Mia supports Emma completely, but she's uncomfortable with the public displays. Emma told her that silence equals violence. I closed my eyes. I'm so sorry. We're working on it. I know you are, she said kindly. I just thought you should know. Mia doesn't want to lose Emma's friendship, but she's walking on eggshells. After dinner, I knocked on Emma's door. We need to talk about Mia. What about her? Emma didn't look up from her laptop. You're pressuring her to do things she's not comfortable with. Emma spun around. She should want to support me. She does support you. She just doesn't want to wear pins or make announcements about it. That's not enough. Emma slammed her laptop shut. Do you know how alone I feel at school? How hard it is to be the only out kid in my grade? My heart broke. I didn't know you were the only one. Emma's anger deflated slightly. There are others, but they're older. Or they're not really out, just kind of. Everyone knows, but no one talks about it. That must be really isolating, I said, sitting on her bed. It is, Emma admitted. And then I found these groups online, and suddenly I wasn't alone. There were people who understood, who'd been through the same things. They made me feel brave. There's a difference between brave and aggressive, I said gently. You think I'm aggressive? I think you're scared and trying to control everything around you to feel safe, I said. But Emma, you can't force people to support you in exactly the way you want. That's not how relationships work. Emma was quiet for a moment. They said you'd try to make me doubt myself. Who's they, Emma? Do you even know their real names? Have you met them in person? That doesn't matter. It does matter, I insisted. These people are telling you to document your family's failures, to cut off friends who don't perform allyship correctly, to test our love with impossible demands. Does that sound like people who care about your well-being? Emma's eyes filled with tears. At least they make me feel like being gay is something to be proud of, not something to hide. We've never asked you to hide, haven't you? Emma interrupted. You don't want me to talk about it at dinner. You don't want me to make it my whole personality. You want me to be gay quietly, conveniently, in a way that doesn't disrupt anything. I sat back, her words hitting hard. Is that really how you see it? How else am I supposed to see it? Emma wiped her eyes angrily. You say you support me, but you won't do anything that shows it. We're going to Pride with you, I reminded her. Because I begged. Because I made it a thing. Not because you wanted to. That's not... I started, then stopped. Was she right? Had we been supporting her only in ways that were comfortable for us? Drake appeared in the doorway. Can I show you something? He held out his phone, displaying an email. This is the registration confirmation for the PLAG meeting next week. Your mom and I signed up the day after you came out. Emma looked surprised. You did? We also bought about 15 books on supporting LGBTQ plus teens, I added. We've been reading them at night after you go to bed. And I changed my work benefits during open enrollment to make sure any future healthcare needs you have are covered, Drake continued. We've been doing a lot, Emma. We just haven't been advertising it. Emma stared at us. Why didn't you tell me? Because we didn't think we needed to prove our love with receipts, Drake said simply. Wednesday was a half day at school. Emma came home to find Linda in our kitchen, baking cookies. Thought you might want to help, Linda said casually. I'm trying a new recipe. Emma hesitated, then joined her at the counter. I made myself scarce, but I could hear them talking quietly as they measured and mixed. Linda had a way of getting Emma to open up without pushing. An hour later, they called me in to try the cookies. Emma seemed calmer, more like herself. Aunt Linda thinks I should take a social media break, she said. I think it might help you figure out what you actually think versus what other people are telling you to think, Linda said carefully. Emma nodded slowly. Maybe just for a few days. It was a small victory, but I'd take it. That evening, Emma asked if we could watch a movie together. We settled on an old favorite, something from before everything got complicated. Halfway through, Emma leaned against my shoulder. I held my breath, afraid to move and break the spell. I'm sorry I've been so difficult, she whispered. You haven't been difficult, I said. You've been figuring things out. I called Dad homophobic because he didn't know what demisexual meant, Emma admitted. That was really unfair. We're all learning, Drake said from her other side, including you. Thursday morning, Emma's phone was on the kitchen counter when it buzzed with notifications. I wasn't snooping, but I could see the preview of messages from her online group. They were asking why she'd been quiet, if her breeders had gotten to her, if she needed extraction. Extraction. The word chilled me. When Emma came down for breakfast, I pointed to the phone. They seemed concerned. Emma read the messages and frowned. They're being dramatic. Are they? I asked. Emma, what do they mean by extraction? She shifted uncomfortably. Some kids in the group have really bad situations at home. Real abuse. The older members sometimes help them leave. And they think you need that? Drake's voice was dangerously quiet. I might have exaggerated how bad things were here, Emma admitted in a small voice. You think? I couldn't keep the sarcasm out of my voice. Emma's defenses went back up. Well, you weren't exactly making me feel supported. So you told strangers on the internet that we were abusing you? Drake stood up, his face flushed. Do you have any idea how dangerous that is? How irresponsible? I didn't say abuse, Emma protested. I just said you weren't accepting. In these groups, that's the same thing, I said. Emma, these people are planning to extract you from a loving home because you told them we wouldn't dye our hair. The reality of it seemed to hit Emma all at once. Her face paled. I didn't mean for it to go that far, but it did, Drake said. And now we have to figure out how to undo this before someone shows up at our door. Emma picked up her phone with shaking hands and started typing. We watched as she told the group that she'd been overreacting, that her parents were actually supportive, that she didn't need help. The responses were immediate and harsh. They accused her of being brainwashed, of betraying the community, of not being a real ally to kids in actual danger. With each message, Emma seemed to shrink. Block them, I said firmly. All of them. But, no buts, Drake said. These people are toxic, Emma. They're not your friends. Emma nodded, tears streaming down her face as she blocked number after number. When she was done, she looked lost. What if I just gave up my only community? You didn't, I said, pulling her into a hug. You gave up a group of people who were using you to validate their own anger. That's not community. That's a cult. Friday arrived with a sense of cautious hope. Emma had been off social media for 2 days and already seemed more like herself. She'd apologized to Mia, had a productive conversation with her guidance counselor about appropriate activism at school, and even helped Drake cook dinner without making it about gay rights. But I knew the real test would be Pride on Sunday. The event that had started this whole conflict was now looming like a storm cloud. I don't know if I want to go anymore, Emma admitted Friday night. What if I see them there? Then we'll handle it together, I said. But Emma, Pride isn't about them. It's about you being proud of who you are. What if I don't know who that is anymore? She asked. Without the group, without the anger, I don't know how to be gay. You be Emma, Drake said simply. Emma who happens to be gay. Not gay who happens to be named Emma. Saturday was spent in preparation. Emma decided she wanted to wear her rainbow hair with a simple outfit, nothing too over the top. I found a subtle pride pin for my purse, and Drake surprised us both with a t-shirt that said, "Free Dad Hugs." Where did you get that? Emma asked, her eyes wide. Internet, Drake said, looking embarrassed. I thought maybe some kid there might need one. Emma threw her arms around him. I love you, Dad. Love you too, kiddo. Rainbow hair and all. That night, as we prepared for bed, I found Emma in her room looking through old photos on her phone. Pictures from before she came out, when things were simpler. Do you miss her? I asked, sitting beside her. The girl in those pictures? Emma considered this. Sometimes. She didn't have to think so hard about everything. But she was also hiding. I don't want to hide anymore. You don't have to, I assured her. But you also don't have to fight everyone who doesn't understand immediately. Sometimes the best activism is just living your life openly and happily. The group said that was complacency, Emma said. The group was wrong about a lot of things, I pointed out. Emma nodded. Mom, I'm scared about tomorrow. Me too, I admitted, but we'll face it together. As I left her room, I felt the weight of the past few weeks settling on my shoulders. We'd weathered the storm, but I knew this was far from over. Emma would face more challenges, more people who would try to tell her how to be gay, how to be an activist, how to be herself. But for now, we were together, bruised and shaken, but together. And tomorrow, we would walk into Pride as a family, not because anyone demanded it, but because we chose to. The irony wasn't lost on me. Emma had wanted us to dye our hair to prove our love. Instead, we'd proved it by saying no, by setting boundaries, by protecting her even when she hated us for it. Sometimes love looks like rainbow hair and pride parades. Sometimes it looks like difficult conversations and blocked phone numbers. As I crawled into bed beside Drake, he pulled me close. Ready for tomorrow? No, I said honestly, but we'll do it anyway. For Emma. For Emma, I agreed. And for us. For our family. Outside, the world was preparing for pride, for celebration and protest and visibility. Inside our home, we were preparing for something smaller but no less significant. The chance to show our daughter that love doesn't require performance, that support doesn't mean agreement, and that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is simply show up as yourself. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, I knew. But tonight, we were just a family, imperfect and struggling, but trying our best. And maybe, in the end, that's what pride really looks like. Sunday morning arrived with gray skies threatening rain. Emma came downstairs wearing jeans and a simple rainbow bracelet, her colorful hair pulled back in a ponytail. Drake adjusted his free dad hugs shirt nervously, while I pinned the small pride flag to my purse. The drive downtown was quiet. Emma kept checking her phone, then putting it away, then checking again. I watched her in the rearview mirror, noticing how she chewed her lip the same way she had as a little girl facing something scary. We parked 6 blocks from the parade route. The streets were already filling with people carrying flags, wearing bright colors, music thumping from various directions. Emma hung back as we walked, staying close between Drake and me. "There are so many people," she said quietly. Drake took her hand. "We can leave whenever you want." Emma shook her head. I want to do this." We found a spot along the parade route where families were gathering. A mother nearby had 3 kids, all wearing matching rainbow tutus. An elderly couple held a sign that said, "Free grandparent hugs." Emma watched everything with wide eyes. The parade started with motorcycles roaring past, rainbow flags streaming behind them. Emma flinched at the noise but stayed put. Float after float passed by, each one louder and more colorful than the last. Drag queens threw beads into the crowd. Corporate sponsors handed out branded fans. Music blasted from every direction. "Mom, look." Emma pointed across the street. I followed her gaze and saw them. The group from the apartment. About 8 young people, all wearing matching black shirts with aggressive slogans. They were chanting something I couldn't quite make out, holding signs about authentic queerness and no compromise. Emma shrank back against Drake. "Can we move?" We started working our way through the crowd, but one of them spotted Emma. A young woman with a shaved head began pushing through the crowd toward us. I recognized her username from the messages, Radical Rainbow. "Emma, there you are," she called out. "We've been worried about you." Emma pressed closer to me. "I don't want to talk to them." Radical Rainbow reached us, her eyes narrowing when she saw Drake's shirt and my pride pin. "These are your parents? The ones who wouldn't even dye their hair?" "Leave us alone," Emma said, her voice shaking. "They've gotten to you," Radical Rainbow said, ignoring Emma's request. "This is exactly what we talked about. Stockholm Syndrome. You can still come with us." Drake stepped forward. "She asked you to leave us alone." Radical Rainbow laughed. "Oh, the sachet dad wants to play protector now? Where was this energy when she needed you to show real support?" More of the group was approaching now. I could feel Emma trembling beside me. Drake's jaw was clenched, but he kept his voice calm. "Real support doesn't mean following your checklist," he said. "Now please leave my daughter alone." "Your daughter?" Another member of the group, a young man with multiple piercings, joined in. "She's not your property. Emma, you know where to find us when you're ready to be your authentic self." "This is my authentic self," Emma suddenly burst out. "Standing here with my parents who love me even when I'm being horrible to them, who stayed up reading about how to support me, who changed their insurance for me, who are here with me even though I called them homophobic." The group exchanged glances. Radical Rainbow reached out toward Emma. "You're confused. Let us help you." Emma stepped back. You're the ones who confused me. You made me think love had to look a certain way. You made me think my parents were enemies when they were just parents. They're brainwashing you," the young man insisted. "No," Emma said, her voice stronger now. "You were brainwashing me, making me document everything, telling me to cut off my best friend, planning to extract me. That's not support. That's..." She paused, looking for the word. "That's a cult," I supplied quietly. Radical Rainbow's face twisted. "You'll regret this, Emma. When they show their true colors, when they reject who you really are, don't come crying to us. They already know who I really am," Emma said. "I'm their daughter, who happens to be gay, not the other way around." The group muttered among themselves, throwing dirty looks our way, but eventually melted back into the crowd. Emma was shaking. Drake pulled her into a hug, and she buried her face in his chest. "I'm proud of you," he murmured. "That was brave." "I don't feel brave," Emma said, her voice muffled. "I feel like I'm going to throw up." We found a quieter spot away from the main parade route. Emma sat on a bench, taking deep breaths. I bought her a bottle of water from a vendor while Drake sat beside her, not saying anything, just being there. "I really thought they cared about me," Emma said finally. "They probably thought they did," I said, sitting on her other side. "But caring about someone doesn't mean controlling them." Emma nodded, sipping her water. "Can we still watch the parade? Just from here?" We spent the next hour on that bench, watching the celebration from a distance. Emma pointed out different flags, explaining what they meant. Drake asked questions, genuinely trying to understand. I watched my family, feeling something settle in my chest. A teenager approached Drake looking nervous. Is that shirt for real? The free hugs?" Drake glanced at Emma, who nodded. He stood up and opened his arms. The kid hugged him quickly, mumbled thanks, and hurried back to their friends. Drake sat back down, looking slightly stunned. "That was nice, Dad," Emma said softly. 3 more kids approached over the next half hour. Each time, Drake gave them a brief, awkward but genuine hug. Emma watched with something like wonder on her face. "I didn't think about other kids needing that," she admitted. "Kids whose parents aren't here." Around 2 o'clock, Emma's phone buzzed. She looked at it and smiled. "Mia's here with her family. They're by the food trucks. Can we meet them?" We made our way through the thinning crowds. Mia's family had claimed a picnic table. Her parents waved us over, making room. Mia and Emma hugged carefully, like they were both made of glass. "I'm sorry," Emma said immediately. "For everything. For calling you names. For pressuring you. For being a terrible friend." Mia's eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry too. For not understanding how alone you felt. For blocking you instead of talking to you." The girls sat together, not saying much but slowly relaxing into their old rhythm. Mia's mom caught my eye and smiled. We'd talk later, I knew. Figure out how to help the girls navigate their friendship going forward. Emma's phone kept buzzing with messages from the blocked numbers. She finally turned it off completely, shoving it deep in her pocket. "They're not going to stop, are they?" she asked. "Probably not for a while," I admitted. "But you don't have to respond. You don't owe them anything." As the afternoon wore on, the crowds began to disperse. Vendors started packing up. The music faded to a distant thump. Emma looked tired but somehow lighter. "I want to do one more thing," she said suddenly. "There's a booth over there. The LQB plus Youth Center. Can we go?" We walked over to the booth where volunteers were handing out information. Emma approached hesitantly. "Hi," she said to the woman staffing the table. I'm gay, and I think I've been doing it wrong." The woman, who looked to be in her 50s, smiled gently. "There's no wrong way to be gay, sweetheart. There's only your way." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "I've been so angry and scared, and I hurt people who love me because some strangers online told me to." The woman came around the table and put a hand on Emma's shoulder. "That's more common than you'd think." think. Being young and queer is hard. Sometimes we get lost trying to find our way. She handed Emma some pamphlets about youth groups, legitimate ones with adult supervision and healthy boundaries. These might help. Real community, not the toxic kind. Emma took them, nodding. Thank you. As we walked back to the car, Emma linked her arms through mine and Drake's. I'm sorry I've been such a nightmare. You haven't been a nightmare, Drake said. You've been a teenager trying to figure out who you are, with some really bad influences, Emma added. I can't believe I let them convince me you were the enemy. We're never the enemy, I said, even when we're the bad guys. That's what parents do. Emma was quiet for a moment. That group, they're going to keep trying to contact me, aren't they? What if they show up at school? Or at the house? Drake's face hardened. Then we deal with it. Together. And with the police if necessary. Emma nodded, looking relieved. I think I want to talk to someone. A therapist, I mean. Aunt Linda mentioned someone who specializes in LGBTQ plus teens. We'll call tomorrow, I promised. Make an appointment. The drive home was peaceful. Emma dozed in the back seat, emotionally exhausted. Drake reached over and took my hand. We survived, he said quietly. The first round, I corrected. This isn't over. He squeezed my hand. Number, but we know what we're dealing with now. At home, Emma went straight to her room. I started to worry, but she came back down carrying her laptop. I want to delete everything, she said. All the groups, all the forums. Start fresh. We sat with her as she methodically removed herself from each toxic space. Some required explanation. She'd have to email administrators. Others she could leave silently. With each deletion, she seemed to breathe easier. There, she said finally. Gone. Drake kissed the top of her head. Proud of you, kiddo. Emma leaned into him. I'm proud of you too. The hugs thing. That was really cool. It felt good, Drake admitted. Helping those kids. Emma's phone rang. Linda's name appeared on the screen. Hey, Aunt Linda, Emma answered. Yeah, we're home. It was. A lot, but good. Can I tell you about it? She wandered into the living room, talking animatedly. I could hear her describing the confrontation with the group, the hugs Drake gave, the youth center volunteer. She's going to be okay, Drake said. Eventually, I agreed. It's going to take time. He nodded. Good thing we've got plenty of that. I started making dinner while Drake cleaned up the pride gear we'd accumulated. Emma's rainbow hair tie on the counter, the pamphlets from the youth center, Drake's shirt that would need washing. Evidence of a day that had gone nothing like we'd planned, but exactly how it needed to. Emma came back into the kitchen as I was chopping vegetables. Aunt Linda wants to know if she can come to my first therapy appointment for support. If you want her there, I said. Emma considered. Maybe. I'll think about it. She started setting the table without being asked. Simple actions, but they felt monumental after the past weeks of conflict. Mom, Emma said suddenly, I love you, and Dad, and I'm sorry I made you feel like that wasn't enough. I put down the knife and hugged her. Love is always enough. Everything else is just details. Drake joined us, wrapping his arms around both of us. We stood there in our kitchen, holding each other, while outside the world continued its noisy spin. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. The group might escalate. School would continue to be complicated. Emma would struggle with finding her place in a community that had both welcomed and wounded her. We'd have tough conversations with therapists, with school administrators, possibly with law enforcement if the group didn't back off. But tonight, we were together. Our daughter was home, safe, beginning to understand that love doesn't require performance and support doesn't mean surrender. She'd learned hard lessons about manipulation and toxic communities, about the difference between activism and aggression. The Pride Parade had ended hours ago, but in our kitchen, with Emma helping Drake make salad while I stirred pasta sauce, I felt the real pride. Not in flags or slogans or hair dye, but in the simple fact that we'd weathered this storm together. Emma would find her way. She'd build a healthy community, learn to be herself without apology or aggression. She'd make mistakes and have triumphs. She'd figure out what being gay meant for her, not what strangers online told her it should mean. And we'd be there. Not perfect allies, not performative parents, just mom and dad, loving her through it all. That was enough. It had always been enough.